Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the second collection coming from Indie Lacquer. Indie Lacquer did send these polishes to me for review. They have been out for a while, but they are still available, and I'm really excited to share them with you today. I especially love the packaging. It gives off kind of an Art Deco type feel, and these are very gorgeous and beautiful, mostly shimmers, but there are some hollow in here finishes. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and jump right into these swatches. So first up is Tea Party, and if you guys have been following me for some time, you know that this one speaks directly to my heart. So this polish is described as an off-white crelly with pink, gold, and aqua glitters. I really love that the aqua in there are matte. It kind of adds something different and really special finish. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one is a crelly, so it does start out fairly sheer. I did have to be maybe just a little bit mindful to get those glitters spread out like I wanted to on the nail, but really no issues at all. So here's a look at that second coat. It does add more of that gorgeous milky type base. I did still have some visible nail line, so I am going to let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with 3 coats. So I was really happy here with the finish at 3 coats. I do recommend with going in with maybe your favorite peel off base coat and for sure a glossy top coat to smooth it all out. I did have to push back maybe a few glitters towards the tip of my nail, but this finish is gorgeous. So there's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats underneath artificial lighting. So next up is Enchanted Forest, and this polish for sure individually makes me wish that I had pushed this review out sooner because this is a perfect St. Patty's Day green. So this polish is described as a teal holographic micro glitter with hints of iridescent chameleon glitters. Those chameleon glitters shifted pretty copper for me, which is gorgeous in this mix. This is a true micro glitter polish, so it does go on a little bit sheer here in this first coat. I'll go ahead and show you how it built up for me with that second. If you wanted to sponge this one on, I think that would be a great polish to do that with. It's going to absorb maybe a little bit of that base and give you a full opacity sooner. So here's a look at my third and final coat for today. This does push this one right over the edge into being completely opaque, and you cannot seriously tell how glittery this is on the nail underneath my lighting. In direct sunlight, this one is blazing. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. So next up is Mermaid Lagoon, and this is a beautiful shimmer polish. So this one is described as a vibrant blue with a purple to red aurora shift. So this is going to give you a little bit of shift on the nail. It did shift that purple at really extreme angles. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this one does go on a little bit sheer. I did get really easy smooth coverage though. I did notice that this one tended to kind of pull up around the edges, so I do recommend going in for nice thin coats. So here's a look at my second coat. It does amp up that coverage a little bit, but I did still have some visible nail line. It for sure adds to that vibrant blue base and more of that shimmer. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with my third and final coat today. 3 coats did make for a really gorgeous color, a really cool effect, but it wasn't completely opaque for me. I do have very strong nail lines. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. So here in my swatch photo, you can see a little bit of that red shift there. So this next polish is a top pick for me. So this one is Unicorn Tears. Already it has my attention. So this one is described as a light purple to gray with scattered hollow and blue to purple to red shifting shimmers. So this one is going to give you some hollow and some shimmer shift. I do want to say that this hollow is more on the subdued side, and the base is kind of very ethereal and light and gorgeous. This first coat was fairly sheer. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and show you how it built up for me with the second. So 2 coats adds a more of that shimmer, maybe a little bit more coverage, but it was still fairly sheer. I'm going to go ahead and complete this coat, cap the tip, let it dry, and then show you how it built up for me with my third and final coat today. So I did go on maybe a little bit thicker here for this third coat. It did not bring it completely opaque, but it really got it right to the edge. It makes for a very clean and classy look. I do still have some V and L there, but I really like the effect on the nail. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting, and then my final swatch photo. So next up is Chasing Waterfalls, and this polish is described as a fuchsia with a cyan to blue to red shimmer. So this one is crazy stunning on the nail. If you like a strong shimmer, I think this polish is going to be great for you. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does go on really easy, really smooth. I didn't have any issues with pulling or anything like that. It was just a little bit sheer. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and show you how it built up for me with that second coat. 2 coats adds a little bit more depth, a ton more shimmer, but it was still a little bit sheer. I think throughout the collection, these are pretty much 3 coaters. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with my third and final coat. So 3 coats, it did bring this one right to the edge of being completely opaque. Again, I do still have some V&L, but my V&L is crazy hard. So if you wanted to, you could go in with a quick undie. But here's a look at that complete and mani at 3 coats before glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. So this one is stunning on the nail, another top pick for me for sure. So this is my final swatch photo. So next up is I Think You're Great. I think this collection kind of leans more to the purple side, so if you're a purple fan, pay attention. So this polish is described as a creamy purple with a bit of teal shimmer. I will say that I felt like this was the sheerest polish in this collection. It wasn't really a fan favorite for me, but if you love this really gorgeous blue shimmer on the purple base, which is a beautiful combination, this one may be for you. So there's a look at that first easy coat. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up for me with that second. I did kind of go in a little bit heavy-handed with this one because I knew it was a little bit more on the sheer side. I do recommend going in for thinner coats, however. So here's a look at my third and final coat. It did make for a nice even finish, and you do get a ton of that shimmer. It was just a little bit sheer for me here, and I do still have some visible nail lines. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats. I also want to mention that this formula was a little bit thicker. It's almost like a curly type formula. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle under artificial lighting. So next up is Divine Wine, and this is, I want to say, my #1 top pick. Really gorgeous polish. So this one is described as a cyan to blue to purple to copper or multi-chrome in a magenta base. So super gorgeous. If you wanted to put this over a darker base, you would get a full range of spectrum in that shift with a fewer coats. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Went on nice and easy, a little bit sheer. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here in this first swipe, you can already tell it's building up really nicely. It was still sheer for me at 2 coats, however. So I'm going to complete this coat, let it dry, and then show you how it built up for me with that third and a final coat. So here's a quick look at that. 3 coats it did, bringing this polish completely opaque for me, and I am loving the finish. Deep and vampy, but still with the brightness that a shimmer shift gives. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. I think with the light refracting off my mirror base, it does show a little bit more visible nail line here than it does in person. So this is a good representation at my final swatch photo. So lastly today I have Dance With Me, and this polish is described as a holographic purple with blue to violet to red to orange chameleon shift. So this one is super hollow in the bottle. I think it gets maybe a little bit more scattered on the nail. So here's a quick look at that first easy coat. Again, this one did start out a little bit sheer, but it did go on nice and easy. It wasn't gritty or anything like that at all. So here's a look at that second coat. It does build up that base. It brings it really close to being full coverage, but I did still have some visible nail line. So I'm going to go ahead, complete this coat, let it dry, and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. I did have a little bit of polish in the cuticle there. I'm just going to clean that up with acetone and a cleanup brush with no staining or issues. So here's a look at my third and final coat, and it did bring this polish completely opaque. It's a really cool finish. You get that holographic with that shimmer shift as well, and a nice kind of burnt red color. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So that does wrap up my swatch and review today of the Indie Lacquer second collection. If you're interested, I do have more photos of any of the polishes featured here today on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I know I've had a little bit of a longer time between swatch videos than I usually do. My schedule is super hectic, but I am planning on getting a ton of great collections out, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you so much for your support. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.